And we really screwed a pooch on that. Just going to take a scenic drive through the mountains here. Maybe a Bigfoot. And boom.
I never didn't believe in Bigfoot. I never believed in it, I didn't believe in it. I never given it any thought.
They kept wood knocking back and forth to each other, and it was in a pattern.
Barn owls don't typically throw rocks.
I come across these tracks.
Sasquatch is still not on my mind.
Greg Ogles, we're finally live. We finally catch up on the conversation we just had for the last hour.
How you doing, Bobby?
Pretty good. We got Michael X. He's back by. Bristol. All-Stars. Well, I want to know what you're going to do with your bucket list now that you've got a documentary on Tubi. You were a keynote speaker at the Alabama Bigfoot Conference, and now it's the Caffeinated Cryptid. So check. Bucket list.
Check. Hey, hey, I can die happy now. I'm
Take that, Mount Everest.
Cryptid. That is the last check on my bucket list.
What if it was? That'd be so sad. You didn't know it. You're like Nell. You're like a feral person. You thought this was like
I am.
criminal.
Yeah. If you ask my friends, I'm a feral person.
Who was I was talking to about feral children, the legends of them, and how they, after a certain age, they couldn't be reassimilated back. They just ended up, kind of a ward of the state. I said, well, Jodie Foster's doing pretty good. She was like 15 years old. We got Blondes and Booze. Where's that? Oh, there we are.
Howdy.
Kristen Brandy. I better be on my best behavior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she'll shank you if it's Brandy.
Yeah, it's like prison.
Yeah, she's from Michigan. She'll shank you.
Oh my gosh, it's even worse.
Yeah.
Is it Taylor, Michigan, or just a?
I don't know. Yeah, just anywhere up there up north.
Straight out of the streets of Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about how you got started in documentary making, and we'll get into that later. But how did you incorporate the cryptid side of it? How'd you get into that?
Well, it all really started when I'd been hunting and fishing all my life, got tired of it. Mm-hmm. If you're hunting and you're successful, you've killed an animal, and that just didn't appeal to me anymore. And the same happened with fishing. I just got so tired of just doing the same old things.
Oh yeah.
So I'd always had a interest in cryptids. When I was young, I had a UFO experience, and I had also seen some footprints that were really strange. I really wouldn't call them Bigfoot footprints. They're probably more akin to Dogman footprints. Mm-hmm. But I'd always had an interest in that. Grew up watching In Search of with Spot.
Oh yeah,
Leonard Nimoy. So it always fascinated me, and there was one day that I just okay, I'm going to stop being on the couch, and get myself involved in it. So I got onto a Facebook group and met up with this guy named Paul Halsey, who kind of took me out, and took me by the hand. We went out and just showed me the ropes and whatnot. And I'm like, hey, what I do for a living is I investigate crashes and I solve these mysteries. And, so I was like, I'm going to bring some of that stuff into this game. It should be pretty easy to figure out. So I brought some of those same skills in there. I was like, okay, I'm documenting things. So while I'm documenting things, let's make a documentary. How hard can it be? Right?
Yeah.
How hard can it be?
It can't be hard.
Yeah, how hard can it be?
That seems
Well,
easy.
it can be real hard. Yeah.
That seems. Yeah, I was thinking like I didn't know if you were a traffic. I knew you worked with traffic and something of that nature.
I did. I do.
Now that you say what you actually do, I can see how it would almost be like the same set of skills.
It is. It's some of the same skill set. Some of the very same skill set.
You don't need upside down spray paint though.
No, you don't need that. Nor do I need a fluorescent jacket on.
Safety third.
Yep, safety third.
Travis
But-
Taylor. was it.
But little did I know that, there's actually a whole lot to making a documentary and making it entertaining. One of the ways I found out about it is on our first outing, we went out and I found some fascinating evidence. We found these footprints. They kind of went on around a pond. They were 16 inches long, 7 inches wide.
Really?
Go ahead.
Oh, I said really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah, they were huge footprints, and they were 5.5 feet in stride between footprints. They were immaculate footprints, and this was literally on our first outing. We'd been in the woods maybe an hour or so, and even granted, we were deep in the woods, but we wasn't out very long at all. And then we came across some more footprints. But before I got to those footprints, I found something that looked like a bird's nest, except it was gigantic. It was huge. I could get inside the thing, but it was on its side, right? Yeah, it was right beside a game trail. And, we were kind of joking around about it at first, like, hey, man, I can hide up in here, just getting up and just playing around. And then right after we was playing around, we started looking in this was right at the edge of a field, but it was just inside the woods. Right when we got into the field, we see these footprints that was leading away from the giant bird's nest, and that was like, dadgum, here's more footprints. So, we're going to solve this mystery in just a heartbeat. It's not going to take us long at all.
Nope.
We're going to prove all this stuff, right? And we were having magnificent evidence, and I was getting up and just talking about all this evidence that we were finding, and I came across these bat houses in that same field that had these 4x4 posts, and on the 4x4 posts there were fingerprints on it, 4 fingers on the one side of the face, and then a thumbprint on the same side of the face, just on the other side, like you could reach. So where's it at? Reach around it like this, right? Anyway.
Oh yeah.
So we're like, that gum. There's nothing to this Bigfoot. And what's the big deal? We're going to solve it just like this. Well, we didn't.
How many years ago was that?
Oh God. 10 years ago now.
It's got this locked up.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't know how rare that kind of evidence really was. And, after we went back and looked at the footage that we had shot, I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, I'm awful. I am horrendous. So some of the best evidence that I have ever seen, like the physical evidence, other than capturing something on video, we weren't able to use because it was just horrible. Absolutely horrible. So
it reminds me of that Wolf of Wall Street Quaalude scene where they thought they were doing all this crazy stuff and they were just on the ground.
I was so embarrassed looking at it. I was like, Brent, I'm not showing that to anybody ever, ever. But long story short, there's a whole lot to making things entertaining and being you have to train to be presentable, I guess, on camera.
Mhm.
And which was doubly hard for me because I have a speech impediment that I have to overcome. And for many years when I was a kid, I had to deal with that speech impediment, and it's doubly hard for me. So
I'd say you've done a pretty good job. I mean, I've seen the Downey Booger. Obviously, we watch it twice a week in our house because I know it's entertaining enough for the kids, and it's always funny to see people.
Are they throwing popcorn at me when I'm on TV? Like, hey, there he is.
Well, the little one sleeps like in our bedroom with us, in like in her crib in there. She's 4. I say crib. She weighs 40 pounds for God's sake. But she wants to watch Bigfoot or Mothman. Sometimes I'll just put that on because I know it'll put her to sleep. No, I'm just kidding. It's no, but like and even the trailer to the LBL, like you can tell it's History Channel quality. Just a couple of scenes. Good, so yeah.
It'll be History Channel quality as far as Brent does fantastic work. Yeah, I mean, he's a professional. It's what he does for a living. He works at I'm not going to say where he works, but he works at a TV station, and he does editing for a living. So he's a professional in the field, and he does a fantastic job. Sometimes I stress him out a little bit because I'm like, hey, let's make a change on something. And he's like, what? And he gets all stressed out and everything. But, because it's hours and hours and hours of editing. I look at it like it's a magic wand, just poof, and there it is.
Gotta go back in and just rip up the carpet and try again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I messaged him last night.
Yeah.
Just to have him. I was in a guest finding mood. I get in these little ADHD hyper focus when I start just reaching out to any guest I can think of. So I reached out to him. I think it'd be pretty cool. I noticed we had a couple of friends.
Yeah, he would be a good guest. He's very well spoken. He's had a lot of experiences along with me. As a matter of fact, he's had all the same experiences that I've had. I will say that when we first started, I saw things that he didn't see, particularly when it came to the orbs. That's still a little bit of a mystery to me because they were right in front of us. And, I was a bit stunned when I first started seeing orbs because I'd never heard of an orb. And I was like, hey, what's that little glowy thing right out there, So I'm sitting here looking and, and it's pretty bright. They're the bright as a flashlight. And I'm like, hey, Brent, what's that over there? And he's like, what? And where? It was right there. He's where? There? Where? There? And he couldn't see it for the life of him. He couldn't see it, but I could. And eventually, though, he got to where he started to be able to see the orbs. Now, I have no idea what that's all about.
Yeah.
But that really happened. So,
yeah, and he had the vibration story too, didn't he?
Yes.
The guttural, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I could feel that too at the LBL, and I understand what happened to Brent. I really do. I understand it, and I'm going to say some good things about him real fast.
Do it.
When we were at the LBL and this thing started growling, you could feel it inside your body. I mean, your whole body just vibrated. It was like being close to somebody in a car playing really loud bass, where you could feel the bass, or fireworks, where you could feel the fireworks going off. Every time it growled, you could feel it. And it was startling, extremely startling. Now, Brent may have been zapped or whatever happened to him. He went into a terror attack. So we collectively was trying to get him to calm down. Eventually, he does calm down, and he picks the camera up and he starts filming. he starts doing his job. I can't say enough when, how proud I was of him of overcoming that much terror and coming back and doing your job and doing it well. He filmed very well. He got something very special on camera that night. I'm going to save that for the film.
Don't spoil it. Not on here. Not with all 10 people watching.
Well, but it's he overcome something that is very difficult for a lot of people to overcome, and that took bravery. So I do want to commend him for doing that. He did a really good job doing that.
Hearing him describe it, like you could tell it wasn't just a willy-nilly run-of-the-mill paranormal experience. Like he thought it was over for him.
Right. And we all
thought he was dead.
We all did. He's not the only one. You talk to Adam,
insane.
he thought the same thing. I thought the same thing, but it's, I had a camera. We had security with us. We did have security with us.
Yeah.
But in our security, we was talking to him, and he said that's the first time he's ever drawn his weapon. He drew his weapon. So we had the weapon was drawn and it was out, and we were prepared for battle. We really were. So we coalesced into a small group, and the thing was not intimidated by four grown men, four good sized men, not intimidated at all. So, I look back onto that. I look back onto that encounter. And I had to come to terms with some things because I saw it.
So while you're taking a drink, so don't spoil the film, but you did see an entity or a being?
Yeah, I saw it. It was a Bigfoot.
I mean, okay.
I didn't want to tell you. It's a Bigfoot. I
didn't know how far you wanted to go. It's like, but you did see. So you saw the
Bigfoot. I tried to get it on camera with my camera, but the cameras that we were using were such short range cameras that I don't think it had the range to be able to get it. Even though it was on the other side of the truck. I don't think it had that kind of range. Or they don't have that kind of range. I did have a long range camera on me or in our midst, but I didn't have it. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
However, we do have some very, very special footage with the long range camera. I'm not going to go too much into that, but it's very special. But I've had a lot of encounters, and we've caught lots of things on video. I've seen things on video where I would consider Bigfoot, but to sit there or to stand there and see it with your own eyes is very troublesome. The first time you actually see it with your own eyes, and it was just standing there. I couldn't see any eyes. I couldn't see anything on the face at all because it was so dark. I mean, the creature itself was just black, and the night itself was dark. There wasn't even any moon out, so it was pretty dark out. So for Brent and myself, we went from being high level believers because of evidence. You can hear rain out on the roof and believe that it's raining.
Yeah.
But you don't know it until you actually see it for yourself.
Until you're wet.
Right? Yeah. So that's what happened to both of us. We went from being believers to knowers.
So you had the paradigm shift, like
yeah.
I always wonder what that's like, because I feel like I'm on the verge of it, just messing around like I do, but I don't know if I'm trying to have it. Maybe one day, maybe a 10-second sighting. I don't.
Well, when you do have it, you go through a rationalization process. You first try to explain it away.
Mm-hmm. Like a stages of grief, almost. I've heard.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like questioning yourself. Like, did I really see that? You know what I mean? Or if I did, was it just my imagination? Because I went through that with the orbs,
Mm-hmm.
because the orbs was that same kind of paradigm shift, because I was looking at something that wasn't supposed to be there. And then finally it comes to acceptance, and then when it comes to acceptance, you're changed.
Mm-hmm.
Your whole perspective on life has changed. The only thing that I didn't have a paradigm shift was the first time I saw a ghost. We were out Bigfoot hunting, and both Janice and I saw an Indian on a horse just materialize in a field, and it rode all the way through the field. And when it got to the wood line, it disappeared. So I was like, wow, that's cool. But
Where was this?
I've seen a lot of strange stuff by then, though.
Where was that at? The horse?
It was at McIntosh Reserve in Georgia.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if a ghost would be a paradigm shift for me either, because I'm like, it's not something for me to believe they're there or not. Because it's one thing I 100% believe is it happens. Like I experience like angel numbers and things like that. So something's doing that. So I know just the next step up as a person. I've been to a couple investigations. So, but yeah, the Bigfoot thing, that's the holy grail. Now, what interests me in the orb thing is like, is it like when you see them, do you think like it's a person coming down the road with a flashlight or a car, but you realize it's a river, or like you're in a swamp and it can't possibly be anything else? And then you see it do some crazy stuff and it can't do that. That'd be where it would get you. That'd be where it would get me when I saw it do some crazy, like up in the tree acrobatics.
Yeah. Now there's different types. There's some that are very quick. You'll see them for a second or two. And I know there's people out there that's going to say, oh, that ain't nothing but a lightning bug. Well, no, not in February. No.
And you can tell that there's a color difference too.
Yeah, like, there's color differences.
Yeah.
So there's some that are quick. There are now the one that we filmed in the Downey Booger stayed there all night. I mean, it would have different variations in brightness, but it stayed there all night. I mean, for hours it stayed there. So we've got these that last for a very, very long time. I took my son out one time, and this is when I first started seeing them. I took him to Fort Mountain, Georgia. And we were there, and we saw right on cue these orbs come up, right? And they're about the size of your fist or so. And he starts to get freaked out a little bit. He's like, "Okay, Dad, it's time to go back to camp." So we started walking back to camp, and lo and behold, I said, "Here they come. They're following us." He's like, "Dad, they're following us." "Dad, they're following us." I said, "It's okay, son." I said, they'll stop when we get up here to the clearing. And, usually that's what happens. But, he saw for for himself that orbs and things that aren't supposed to exist. So if you actually want to go out and see orbs, go to Fort Mountain State Park and sometime in October, and you'll see them. Absolutely.
Just floating around? They go up in the air, or they stay like...
Go in the woods near the power lines. You'll see them. And we had one that we interacted with for a long time. And it would actually interact with us. I saw a train of them that, we were headed back to camp, and, we were going one way, and we met these other orbs that was coming with us. And I say orbs because there was about 6 or 7 of them. and we stopped and just watched them just float by.
Really?
and
So they're just like coming through the trees like Boy Scouts.
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And there was like a train of them, and I was sitting there. I said to the other two people with me, I was like, "Is this really happening?" And we just watched in amazement as they just floated by and then went and did their own thing. So we see them quite often. We've got them in the film. We saw them at the LBL.
Yeah.
So they're in the film, and it's in color, so you'll be able to see the color of them.
Well, I ain't got color. I ain't got color TV kind of money. I just work in IT. I can't be. Mine's still black and white.
Well,
now were you doing shooting for that documentary when we met up there with the Woodwalkers meet and greet?
No.
Or,
well, I tried to, but unfortunately, every bit of that footage was corrupted. Every bit of it.
Coincidence.
Well, it happens.
Yeah, that seems to be a big thing.
Yeah, well, I find out that it happens more often than not. So, it was I expected it. Like, for example, in the sequence where we had the Bigfoot encounter, we had 2 fully charged cameras, and they should have been lasted for hours and hours. So I got about 25 to 30 minutes out of those cameras before they died, and that's it. So battery drainage is very, very, very common. File corruption is also common. Camera malfunction is common. That's another one of the reasons why it took so long to make the Downey Booger. We thought we had great footage. We'd come back and it's been corrupted somehow. Even in the footage where we got the thing crawling between us and the orb, that file is actually corrupted. The audio on it doesn't work. And out of all of the footage we took with that camera, that's the only segment where something was corrupted in. Also, what is not on the film was I had a thermal camera with me, and I caught something crawling down the hill from the opposite direction, and it went to a log and kind of pushed up on the log, and then it kind of went back down, and then it freaking just disappeared just from the thermal camera. And I'm like, yes, I got it. It's on camera. I got it. I was recording. No, that file was corrupted. Wasn't able to use it.
And how do y'all just bounce your equipment off a tree when that happens? I couldn't do it. Or I guess I could, but I'm just saying
it's frustrating to say the least. It's very frustrating. But you learn to live with it. If you're going to be serious about making a documentary, and it's going to be real, not set up or fake or like some other shows that are out there. We don't have the budget to fake it, so everything we do has to be real. So you just have to learn to live with some of the oddities that come with filming.
Do you think that has a lot to do with the fact that every Bigfoot picture is blurry for the most part? Is like they screw it up?
Very well could be. Very well could be that they have such a frequency vibration that it messes with our electronics.
Appreciate that, there, Sonny. Hit me. Sonny done bought me a coffee for the week.
Yay!
Yay!
Thanks, Sonny.
Yeah, I get in arguments all the time, and it's more of a. I'll get your question in a Christmas. I'll get to your question in a minute, Chris. I just had corrupted speech. Good Lord, Greg. Yeah, but I get in arguments kind of for fun with the coalition of the critical thinkers of Bigfoot, because one of my favorite witnesses is Mr. Randy from Minnesota, and that's the one that Jason Kinsey and the She Squatchers went to. and I know him personally. He'll call me every so often and tell me about something that happened on his property. But
Mhm.
this is just a particular example of an argument. This is one of thousands I've had. But he said, how do you explain a great ape sustaining on 40 acres? And I'm like, dude, why are you doing this right now? You know why? Like they can't get over the what we call them, apers.
Mhm.
The apers just can't get over it. And I think once you get over the hump, I mean, you're already in this realm. Why not just let it wash over you?
Yeah,
That they're possibly not a great ape at all.
exactly. When we first started, I was like in the ape category. That
Yeah.
it was an ape, and then I went to that they were possibly a type of human. Kind of like Neanderthal or
Yeah.
Magnon, whatever.
Like a lost version.
Yeah, a lost version of human. And then some of the things that started happening really made me even question that. Like when I saw the Bigfoot, it moved from in front of the truck to the wood line and unnaturally fast. It was unnatural. I don't know anything that could move that fast. So, I mean, that to me was concerning in itself, that if this thing wanted to hurt us, it could, because you couldn't draw your weapon fast enough to do any kind of damage to this thing.
And it makes you wonder if a weapon would even do any damage.
Exactly.
Like the guy you said, your security had
Mhm.
I'm supposing like a 45 or something of that size had to be.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what would it have done? I mean,
I don't know. I do know that if he had succeeded in harming one, there was another one to our left because it was throwing rocks at us.
Like they're like velociraptors. There's never just one.
Yeah. That was, when we told Adam about it, he's from Britain. I always kid him about being from Australia, but he's from England. But Adam was like, "Oh my God, they're flanking us."
Oh yeah. He was.
They're flanking us. But he's right though. They were using military tactics. They was using one as a distraction for the other, and there may have been more there, that we just didn't see. But I do know that. I'm sorry. I just saw a comment from one of your patrons that made me laugh.
Is it that one?
Yes.
I figured there was some inside joke there.
It is.
I didn't know I'm not going to get between that.
Well, the first time I met Kristen, we were filming for this film, and it was cold out, and I had my jacket, and I eat quite often. And I had some oranges in my jacket. And, being a Southern gentleman, whenever I took an orange out, I offered one to anybody that was around. She happened to be around. And I'm like, "Hey, want an orange?" She was so polite. Like, "No."
That's how you get a sign in your yard right there.
Right.
You can end up on a watch list.
It is. But I was just being nice, but, it's our thing now.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, there's something up with that comment, but I don't know what it is. I'm just going to put it up and see what happens. So I don't know any of y'all's Tennessee fans, so I don't know what's up with it.
Oh, my goodness. Well,
my friend Chris was on here.
That's a thing.
He was wondering why the Bigfoot and Spirit Strange equipment, but yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, don't know. During the filming of this, The Land Between the Lakes, we were actually at the meadow, and there was one particular spot where a lot of our equipment just kept draining. It would be full, full batteries, and we move to a spot, and then it drains down to zero, and then we move on down, and then it gets full again. It just powers right back up, and that's happened to us on multiple occasions, many different occasions.
Mm-hmm. Like I know why ghosts do it because they have to use that to manifest. But it doesn't make any sense why the high strangeness in general would. And it just comes back. It doesn't go away.
Right. And it sure doesn't. And this was even in the daytime that these were happening. So, you know, I don't know why. Every time we've hit like an orb with flashlights or anything, they've disappeared. Every time. You know, we don't shine. If you shine a light on an orb, they just poof, they're gone. They'll come back eventually after a while. But for whatever reason, it seems like light shuts them down.
Mm-hmm.
So I have noticed that's one particular aspect that comes with seeing orbs is that a light will shut them down. One thing I haven't tested yet is if infrared light does the same thing to them.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't tested that yet, but I do know our physical light shuts them down.
Now, have you ever? This is not kind of parallel thinking, but have you ever dealt with trying to invoke Jesus or anything around them? I've seen with that because I know people do that with abduction cases, and they say they invoke the name of Jesus and it shuts down the abduction. I don't know if anybody's ever done that around a Bigfoot. And that's for the chat, because I know I got a lot of people in the chat that have dealt with these things. Like, what does the Jesus kind of like the power of Christ compels you? Does that have any effect on the phenomenon? And I got Kristen and Michael X and Flat Rock in here, so they may can offer something there. I'm just, I'm curious. I'm exploring all aspects here.
Yeah. You know, I have a little bit of a different take on, I guess, the spiritual world than most organized religions say. You know, so I just don't invoke something that I don't necessarily believe in. Mm-hmm. It's not that I don't believe like Jesus lived, because I firmly do. It's just I have issues with organized religions and how they've corrupted files and documents and whatnot.
I'm getting there.
I personally don't do that. I have asked them to leave us alone, like when they've started throwing rocks at us and Brent started getting kind of freaked out. And I was like, hey, can you please stop throwing rocks? That's not nice. And they stopped. You know, there was one time where I was going to have back surgery, and I went to the woods and I asked if they could heal my back. And when I went back to the doctor the next week, the herniated disc had disappeared, or the herniation had disappeared. It withdrew back into my body. So, you know, that sometimes happens. But I don't know if that had anything to do with with anything else. But you know, I'd heard from others that some of the beings out there in the woods have the ability to heal.
Yeah, that's not the first time I've heard it either. A guy from Missouri took his terminal sister out there. He never did finish the story about what happened though. He said she was terminal and took her out there, and you know, he said a big male came up in front of him and 2 or 3 did the flank thing around him, and he asked for healing and then changed the subject. I'm like, well, it's been like 2 years now. I may have him back just to finish the story. I mean, I don't want to know like dude, did they? I mean, I feel like that was a big part of your point you were making.
Yeah. I mean, that's a heck of a cliffhanger there.
Yeah, like it's been 2 presidents now since that's happened. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I mean, that's a true story though. I mean, I went out to the woods and, you know, we started having an encounter, and I asked for my back to be healed because I was having a whole lot of trouble with it. And sure enough, you know, I went to the doctor the next week for surgery, and they took one more look, and it was the herniated disc wasn't there.
I'm about to go to the woods now. I got one that's I've had a numb toe for like 1.5 years now.
I know the feeling. I mean, that was years ago. That was 8 years ago or so. A couple of years after I'd started doing this. So I'm kind of back at it now, where my I've got another, you know, that herniated disc is back. So I know the feeling, brother.
I just learned that whenever I feel it going on, I just ice my spine. right there, right above my butt, I guess you would say. That's where all the pinching starts. And
I know all about it.
yeah, it's rough. I don't, man. Sciatica. I was doing jujitsu pretty regular, and I was getting close to getting like a belt promotion, and that happened. I'm like, I haven't been back since. I'm like, I do not want to be crippled.
Yeah,
just for an Instagram post. It's not worth it.
It's not. You can always fake it.
Yep, I can always get beat up in a bar fight, saying I with the fake cauliflower ear or something like that. That's how you tell those guys are badass.
At the cauliflower ear.
Yeah, you were saying earlier about going to the park in Georgia. Is there like there's tons of those kind of things around the South in our state and Georgia and Tennessee, and just throw a rock, you're at a big green spot on the map that may or may not be. What do you look for in those potential areas, like dirt cellar mountain, and I mean, what do you look for to try to find the orbs to begin with? Like orbs or
quartz?
Oh, you said orts. What's an ort?
Quartz.
Oh, quartz. I thought you said orts. I'm like, what the hell's an ort?
I'm sorry. Crystal quartz.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Start looking on the ground for crystal quartz. If there's a lot of it on the ground, there's a pretty high chance that you're going to have orb activity there. If you go to the meadow, you start looking around the meadow, you're going to see quartz. There's lots of it. You go to Fort Mountain, lots of quartz. You go over to McIntosh Reserve, lots of quartz.
Interesting. Yeah, I grew up, my county where I'm from, it's all mountainous over there. And everybody's got limestone with the quartz limestone and quartz are the same thing pretty much. And I found a piece, it's at a popular hike. It's called the Never Sink Pit. We always called it the Navajo. The Navajo. The people come here from God knows where up north. They're, it's the Never Sink Pit. I'm like, you mean the Navajo? There's snakes up there. I took an old boy up there one time. He goes, where is that? I can't find it. Do I need a permit? I'm like, what? Where are you from, son? And I found a piece of quartz up there, this big around. And I left it there because, leave only footprints, take only pictures. But
right,
I picked it up and looked at it. I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. I guarantee you somebody took it though.
Oh, probably
because it was huge. I set it up where somebody could find it and look at it like it was cool, and it was gone the next time. Well, it's in somebody's Subaru. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I look for. That's one of the things that we've noticed that's been common to all of our hunting spots. Quartz. So
that is true. I mean, everywhere you just described has plenty of it.
But yeah, the Downey Booger took 5 or 6 years to complete.
5 years.
We had one version of it done, and then we had a soft release on it on YouTube, and I was like, I don't like this version of it. So we re-edited it and came out with another version, and we were able to put it on Tubi TV and lots of other streaming platforms. You can get it in Walmart.com and BestBuy.com, all these, the .com places where you get DVDs. So I was really proud. Yeah, I was really proud of the way Booger performed. And like all people, I was probably my own worst critic. I was like, oh God, I don't know, I don't want to watch myself. But I've gotten lots of positive feedback about it. One good thing about our films is that everything is real. We don't set anything up except for recreations, of course. I mean, duh. I don't have a time machine.
The reenactments, those are fake.
Right. Yeah, just reenactments is, it's a reenactment. But our investigations are all real.
Reenactments with the horse.
Yeah. Well, no, at the very beginning with the two kids on the horse, that's a reenactment. But the scene where we were coming off a mountain and there was two ladies with the horses there, that was real. That was absolutely real. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's say that looked crazy.
Yeah, it was absolutely real. The that was the time that we went up the mountain, and we had 4 cameras on us, and 3 of them just died when we got up to the top of the camera, and one would go on and off, and then I had a compass on my a walking stick, and it wouldn't act right. Now, of course, it was a cheap compass looking back on things, but still. So when we started to descend from the hill, there was these 2 ladies on horses, and one of them kept looking up the hill behind us, and it just freaks out, it just, and it really reminded me of the story of the Downey Booger, because it was just terrified to go forward, and at one point it got so rough that we thought it was going to buck the lady off of her horse. So she did have to get off of it and physically have to nudge it on down the road, or on down the trail.
That's incredible.
But no, that really happened. That was real.
See, I thought since the first one was a reenactment that it was just kind of like a demonstration again.
No, it was real.
Wow. I'm going to go back and watch that again tonight.
Yeah, that was absolutely real.
I'm paying the rent this month.
Yeah. Everything else other than the obvious reenactment at the very beginning, and the reenactment where Paul was telling his story, and how to reenactment of a hunter scene, and Jason's story, back when we had a reenactment of him being a kid, other than those reenactments, everything else actually really happened. It was all real. The horses, the way they reacted to whatever it was behind us up on the hill was it was unsettling, Yeah,
because they were like spooked, like creepy.
Yeah, they were. Or at least that one was, it just stopped at attention, you could tell that it wanted to turn and bolt the other way, back the way it came.
The other one didn't give a shit. It was like,
yeah, well, it was dumb.
It's just standing there.
It was special.
It's like that horse on Family Guy with the crooked eyes. Stupid horse.
Yeah.
Have you ever? I think we talked about this the last time we hung out, not counting the conference. But have you ever looked into getting like an old school Patterson Gimlin style camera, like the hand cranks and springs?
You're talking about one that doesn't require electricity.
Yeah, just kind of like that movie Nope. You have to turn it yourself.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to edit that.
Yeah, I think you'd have to have scissors and tape.
Yeah,
but still, like they're all over. They're all over.
It's not a bad idea. I kind of joke about it, but it's not a bad idea because it doesn't have any any electronic parts to it. It's just everything's all analog.
Yep.
So it would actually be a very good idea if but you could only shoot in the daytime. You can't shoot at night with them.
Yeah, can't do that.
But that's what because of the IR, we wasn't having any luck in the Downey Booger with IR. So what we did is we went and rented a real high-end camera that could virtually see in the dark. And that's what we were filming that orb with. It didn't have any kind of projected light to it, and I think that's where we accidentally got that Bigfoot on camera. It just, we pressed the button and there it was. And I think it realized it was finally on camera, and it didn't know what to do. It was like, oh crap, it kind of goes this way, and then eventually off camera. But we didn't see it with our eyes. The camera saw it, and it actually tries to focus on it, but we didn't see it with our eyes.
Yeah, so there was nothing for it to detect as you were coming up.
Right.
Nothing being broadcast.
Sometimes maybe going low tech might be the or extremely high tech. I would really be interested in getting my hands on some of the military FLIR.
Yeah, eventually our technology is going to catch up with whatever they are, and at least a little bit. I mean, I suspect that anything that can clipping it out to that degree is always going to have a leg up on whatever we can do until we get so far up we become, like gods ourselves, and that's when the world will end anyway. So it doesn't matter. But,
Oh, of course.
but that's interesting. You say that that high tech one that had such a big aperture that it could see in the dark.
Yeah. It had a ISO of like 460,000.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Insane. Yeah.
That's washed out to the max degree.
Yeah.
That's ISO like 3200 ain't shit compared to that.
Oh, I'm saying,
That's incredible. Okay, so it kind of lends me to make a hypothesis that they let their guard down at night and just look for those kind of things. Since you didn't have it,
I think they can actually see into the IR range.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
So if you're out there with a night vision camera and you're just, you're pulling your all you're doing is
might as well have a spotlight.
Yeah, you might as well have a spotlight.
Oh, yeah. Lots of things can see IR.
Yeah. So, in the making of the booger, we left off the IR, and put out that high-end camera, and there was no moon. Lord help us if there would have been a moon, some sort of moon to actually see something with.
You could have backed it down to 100,000 if there was a moon.
Yeah.
Something modest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'd actually been able to see something. Now, in the making of The Land Between the Lakes, our equipment gets a little bit better, and I've got a full spectrum camera. The full spectrum camera is great, particularly with a little bit of moonlight. And there's this one particular segment in the film. We go back to Fort Mountain, and we're walking down a trail, and I'm going to experiment with a glow stick. So I take a glow stick and I stick up in a tree, and it's kind of high up as I could reach. And then we continue on walking. And I've got my full spectrum camera with me. And I try not to look into the display because it kills your night vision. So I'm just kind of panning around at random, while we're there. It seemed like it was a quiet night for us. But on our way back, I did notice that the glow stick was on the ground. So, I picked up the glow stick and didn't think much about it. However, when I started to go over the footage, you can see something standing next to the glow stick, and it's about 6 or 8 inches taller than the glow stick. And it's standing there looking at us. The moon is behind it. It's perfectly silhouetted, and when I go frame by frame, you can kind of see it, kind of like do this. He's kind of waving, kind of like that. And it is so, again, we didn't see it with our eyes. I thought that it was a very quiet night, but there's clearly something standing there watching us. And I don't know how the glow stick got on the ground, but I put it up there pretty good. But you can see the glow stick in the footage, in the frames, and you can clearly see something standing there. And there's a clear line of sight between where we were and where the glow stick was. So even though it's probably 200 feet, maybe 150 feet away, but there's still a good clear line of sight.
So it's not that far in the dark with that kind of equipment.
Right.
100 feet. So you think it knocked the glow stick? You think it might have tore the glow stick off? Like,
it probably did. And it probably played with it and it fell off, Or it could have fell by itself, I can't say that for sure, but you can sure see something standing there next to it. And that, that'll be in the film, and you can see for yourself. It's standing there.
I'm kind of fired up about this LBL film.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. The trailer's good. The trailer's like a good movie, like some of the stuff it shows.
Well, I can tell you the first few minutes are already done. It starts out with a bang.
Oh, good.
It starts out like a freaking horror movie.
It's got a hook.
It's fantastic. We've spent money on like music and a few other bells and whistles about it that makes the viewing, better. It's more entertaining, but the content in it is just top notch. Absolutely top notch.
What kind of format, like outline did you go with? Like you were telling me about how, you shoot one interview and another interview and you go on site. Did you do something like that with this one?
Well, what we have decided to do with our documentaries is we shoot all of our footage first.
Taking
We
notes.
don't even do storyboards or anything in the very beginning. We might have a general outline, say, hey, let's do A, B, and C. But we don't, like when we went to the LBL, we came across the Casey Jones Distillery. That was a ready-made story for us that we didn't expect to have. And we spent a good bit of time there filming at the Casey Jones Distillery.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fantastic story. It really adds to the richness of and history of the location, you know. And it's things like that we pick up along the way that I think really just makes our story for us, you know. And then when we get all of our footage done, we like, hey, you know, we can sprinkle this one interview throughout the entire interview because it has relevance to multiple parts of the film.
Oh yeah.
So there's not a certain way that we have the film that we want to do predetermined. The film makes itself.
Okay. Well, I always thought that's the way you would want to do it and not tell a story with an agenda. And other people are like, no, you want to start a story and then shoot what I'm like, that's kind of like doing a movie with a narrative instead of
that's a narration.
Making like a factual something that happened.
That's a narration.
Okay.
You know, when we did the Booger, we ignored a lot of the strange things that was going on with us, and that was more of a narration. We had very, very tunnel vision. You know, we're like, we're doing Bigfoot. You know, we're not doing orbs. We're doing Bigfoot. We're not doing ghosts. We're doing Bigfoot. We're not doing anything else. We're not doing aliens. We're doing Bigfoot. Well, I think, you know, I would be remiss to continue on that kind of strategy. Because when you go out and you actually see just weird stuff when you're investigating, and it's worth mentioning what you experience, you know, because you have all these people say, oh, I heard a witch out in the woods, you know, I hear these weird cackles. Just, well, that happens. It happened to Brent, you know, it happened. Yeah, these cackles. In our film, we catch disembodied voices ourselves on camera. I say it, we caught it on camera. Everybody that was there at the investigation is accounted for the either. You can either see their mouth or they're talking or whatever, and you hear this other noise that comes on camera. And it's a disembodied voice. And actually, Janice had heard it several times throughout the night. So these things do happen. So we wanted to explore some of these things, you know, to see if we caught anything, we was going to just show the world, show what we experience. And that's essentially what we did. That we didn't ignore anything this time. There was one situation where it scared one of our crew people to death. They really freaked out. And I don't know how much in detail we're going to go into that particular situation. But the crew won't go back to this particular location because of that.
That's pretty significant then.
It was quite significant. And like I say, you know, they're not going to go back. So I'll go back because either I'm stupid or whatever. I don't know, but I'll go back, but they won't.
Like when you experienced the sighting of a Bigfoot, did it scare you like you think you'd be scared seeing a ghost? No. I hear that a lot. I mean, I don't know how I'd feel. Yeah.
I was stunned. I didn't know what to do. You know, I had a camera in my hand and I was working on pushing the buttons to get record, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm looking up. I have the camera and it's pointed down and I'm looking up. Now, this seemed like an eternity. it seemed like everything was in slow motion. You know, have you ever been riding a bike or on a at the playground, you fell off, and it seemed like as you were falling, everything's in slow motion.
Mm-hmm. Or getting attacked by a dog on a bike. It all feels like
Well,
it just takes for
whatever.
Mhm.
That's exactly how it was for me. It was in slow motion. And I was stunned, and I was speechless, and I didn't know what to do. But then I remembered, hey, I got a camera. I got to do my job. So I pull up the camera and I start looking in the viewfinder, and that was my mistake, looking in the dadgum viewfinder, because it killed my night vision. I couldn't see anything after that.
Oh yeah, you're basically just sitting there blind in the dark.
Yep, and that that worried me a little bit more, because I couldn't see. Before I could see, then I couldn't see after that. So I was kind of pointing and guessing, with the camera for the most part of this encounter. But was I scared? I wasn't scared. I was stunned. I wouldn't say that I ever got scared. No.
Mm-hmm. I understand. Like, I'm terrified of snakes.
Yeah, well, yeah. If it had been a spider or a snake or something like that, I'd been freaked out.
What if you just been seeing a Bigfoot backed into a spider web, started screaming like a girl? There's just video of you running like hell because the spider's on you. It's in my hair. It's in my hair. Like Ace Ventura with the bats.
I wonder how they get
the Bigfoot's watching
these,
the Bigfoot's like, what up?
Yeah.
Don't be
there's a ton of questions I have.
But I was saying, like, I'm terrified of snakes, but if I can see one like 10 yards away, and at the same time being terrified, I'm fascinated with them because they're cool to look at, especially like a rattlesnake doing its thing.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's like how you'd feel about how you felt about Bigfoot. I'm like, well, it's that far away, and like,
oh,
to an extent.
I say it was very far away, but it was at the front of the truck. I'm at the back of the truck.
I'm still thinking like 150 feet away. That's closer.
No.
That's much closer.
Yeah, it was like
that's different.
15 feet away.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I was mixing my stories up.
Yeah, it was about 15.
So it was right there.
Yeah, it was right there on you.
Okay, scratch what I just said. That's arm's length.
Yeah, of course there was a truck between me and it, but
yeah,
I don't think it would have mattered much if it would wanted to hurt you. But it was very close, very, very close.
Yeah, that's a lot closer than what I was thinking you were sitting at. Slits like a Bigfoot has eyes, slits like a cat. I don't know. First I've heard of that.
I don't know. I can say we got, when it was in front of the truck, the eyes were not glowing. However, when it retreated back into the woods, its eyes were glowing.
Without light or by itself?
Yeah, by itself. Yeah.
See, that's the one thing I can't get a solid answer on. Is eye shine like a deer, like with the spotlight, and you just see it because it's there, or is eye shine like a power they have that glows?
I've seen it like where they just glow. That's what happened at the LBL anyway. That their eyes just glowed. Now there was another instance where we was there the second time, and there was some weird stuff going on, and there was eye shine that reflected back. What was that creature? I don't know, but it was the eye shine was about 8-9 foot up next to a tree. Was it a raccoon in a tree? I don't know. But it was high up. And it was shine, reflection, and then it didn't glow with itself. But what I saw, it glowed. But what's humorous now, it wasn't humorous at the time, but it's humorous now. I went to the front of the truck after things kind of calmed down a little bit, and I was wondering if the Bigfoots was still around. So I make this growl sound, this, kind of sound myself. And immediately I heard boom, boom, boom. It stomped like 3 times. As it was stomping, Brent, was walking up to the front of the truck. And I said, "Hey, did you hear that?" I said, "Yeah, it stomped." And I said, he said, "What you do?" I said, "I growled." I said, "I'm going to do it again." So I growled again. And it stomped much closer. It was like really close to the edge of the wood line then. He looked over at me. He's like, "You better stop doing that shit."
Poor Brent, man.
Okay, Brent, I agree with you this time. I'm going to stop because
Brent's like Shaggy.
Yeah, yeah. I was sort of pushing the envelope then, and well, I didn't want to push it anymore because, frankly, I didn't know what I was conveying to it. That's why I don't like to yell and hoop and holler when I go out to the
and wood knock.
Yeah. Because what are you saying to them?
Yeah, it's like you don't know what's a mating call or not. I mean,
Exactly.
do they mate?
Exactly.
I mean, you don't want to find out they mate the hard way. No pun intended.
Or you might be gay Bigfoots or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, you might find out exactly what the Sex Panther actually smelled like. It smelled like Bigfoot's dick.
So I just make it a point not to do that anymore because they know you're there. If you're out in the woods, they know you're there, and if they want to visit you, they'll visit you. So the only thing that you can really do when you yell is you'll hear something off in a distance, and you'll get hollers and stuff like that. They'll do that by themselves. If you just sit there and wait. And this is one thing that I would, if you want an encounter to last, like one of the more common things that they'll do is they'll throw stuff at you. Not at you, but close to your direction. They'll throw small pebbles, rocks, or whatever. We noticed that as soon as we acknowledged what was happening, things would stop. So we said, "Hey, let's ignore what's happening." So when you ignore it, it gets worse and worse.
Stuff get bigger?
Yeah, things get bigger. Yeah, things get bigger. Things, they're trying to get your attention, So when I want an encounter to last a long time and I'm enjoying it, I just ignore what's going on around me, because it seems like it frustrates them. They're like little kids or something, like, trying to get your attention and you're not ignoring them. And they're like, "Hey, I'm here," and I'm like, "No, don't care. So I'm ignoring them. So
what did Bob Grumpy say there? We're their TV.
Yeah, we are. We're their TV. And I 100% agree with that.
Flat Rock's right. That's not the first time I heard that strategy before. Like you're saying, just ignore them and kind of keep talking, keep looking straight, and just kind of say what you see out of the corner of your eye. Say to the left of you, to the right of you.
And I agree with Flat Rock. One of the best strategies, just go out, have a good time. If you go out looking for Bigfoot, I would say that more often than not, you're not going to find anything. Are they able?
The entire TV show.
Yeah. Are they able to detect your intentions? Is a question I would pose. Okay. Like for instance, if you have an intention, bad intentions or something, does your body vibrate at a certain frequency that kind of signals your intentions? Can they detect that? I don't know. Maybe. But
especially if you have like a gun, I mean, they could definitely get on your attention there. They don't want to test that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think when they're in physical form that they could be injured just like we can. However, I do think that there's some evidence out there that says that they're not from here, that they don't live here. They just visit here. You know,
The way their story lines up, almost overlapping with the fairy legends.
Mhm.
Our friend Jason McLean brought that up, and I was like, I've never heard that before, and it's incredible. Like, it almost answers the question.
Mhm.
Now I got to believe in fairies, but it's not that much of a.
Well, what are the orbs?
Yeah, I mean, you're right there.
Mhm.
My friend Randy from Minnesota said he saw a portal open up in the woods. Orbs came out. Leaves started crunching.
Oh,
Turn it.
okay. While I was at the LBL,
Here we go.
here we go.
Buckle up.
Yeah. Okay. This was another paradigm shift for me, and it took me a minute to register what I saw. And a lot of times when I see something, I don't even talk about it for quite a while because I have to process what I see. And
Understandable.
when we were at the LBL, there was a large group of us, and we were seeing orbs. And I saw this light in the woods, and this other lady named Kathy and we had both seen the light, and it looked yellowy white, almost like daylight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I start to move to another perspective, to see if I can look through the brush. As I move, I see the source of the light. It's like, it's like it's two-dimensional, but it's a square. It's perfectly, it's not rectangle, but it's had perfectly 90-degree angles. I mean, I couldn't believe my eyes. And I looked into it, and it was like looking at the sun, maybe the color of looking at the sun. It was really bright. And I'm like, what the crap? I mean, and then all of a sudden it disappeared. Whoop, it was gone that fast. And it wasn't but a couple of minutes later, an orb came up from where that thing was into view, kind of close to us. Looking back onto what I saw, I looked into another world. It was not the Earth that I was looking at.
Oh, when you look through the square?
Yeah, when I looked through the square, it was not the Earth. It was not there. It was not the Earth that I was looking at. I don't know if it was our sun or what, but it was not here that we were looking at. And it took a minute to process that. I can't. That's something I'm still kind of struggling with a little bit. And if not for another encounter that was extremely similar by Adam Davies, when you hear him talk about it, he's done a few interviews on it, and he's got a book about it.
Mm-hmm.
He saw a portal, and he looked into another world. And it's very, very difficult for him to talk about. And I understand it now. I understand it because it's something that's not supposed to exist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah,
it was a real portal, and an orb came out from that. So, okay, when you mentioned that one of your friends saw a portal and orbs coming out of it, I've seen the same thing.
He compared it to the Northern Lights. It opened like an elevator door, kind of, and Northern Lights came out of it.
Really?
And he said it was two orbs floating top of about the size of a basketball. Mm-hmm. And when it got about halfway to his gifting area, with the peanut butter and the apples, it turned in. They started hearing leaves crunching, and it kind of did a reverse Field of Dreams, and they turned into Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
And they went over and he saw them gathering up the stuff at the gifting area and walk halfway, and then they turned into orbs. The orbs their leaves were still crunching. It's like they were invisible, and then it just floated off. It was. He tells that story. You can go ahead.
It's just saying. I had the exact same encounter at Fort Mountain, where you see the orb coming down, and I had these bionic ears on, and you could hear leaves crunching.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's like the same thing, like you just said, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had bionic ears on, and you could hear leaves crunching, and that's why I thought it was the forest ranger. I was like, because the forest ranger was supposed to come out and check on us. That's who I actually thought it was. I'm like, it's the forest ranger. So that's why we were talking to it this whole time. And not until the FLIR was put on it did we realize that it was not human. It was not a person.
There's nothing there. Just
Yeah,
orb.
nothing there.
It's like they're like in between cloaking and orbing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it didn't turn into a Bigfoot that I saw, but it was an orb, and I heard crunching with it.
He's got like two witnesses that was there with him. Saw it like 11:30 at night.
Yeah, we had 4 or 5 witnesses there with us. My entire team plus a couple others.
And that orb and portal thing. Was there any similarities in like the landscape besides quartz when that happened?
I don't know.
Like I mean, it's grasping at the straws. I'm just wondering, like, is this far enough away from people, or makes you wonder why they pick a certain area?
Honestly, they're very close to us.
Yeah, I mean,
and I have to credit both Brandy and Krista from the Blondes and the Booze for showing us this location. It's when they took us there, it's this place called I think they referred to it as the kill site, where some people were allegedly killed.
Mm-hmm.
But the orbs were very close to us, and you can actually see on the film that they're going to be close. You'll see in the film, when it comes out, how close they get to you. At one point, we were buzzed by some of the orbs, and this was the second time that I was out, and it startled one of the people that I was with. They came with like 3 feet of us. Now, when it buzzed us, it like appeared and then it kind of buzzed us, kind of like a bird would do, and then it disappeared. And when it, both Johnny and I, we saw it virtually at the same time, and it kind of startled me. He kind of jumped back, because it startled him. And the orb itself was translucent; you could see through it. But that is the second time that's happened to me. Also at Fort Mountain, had another orb to buzz us, and this one was red, reddish amber. Anyway, so it was also translucent. So the closer they get to you, the more translucent they are. I've tried to approach them, and they keep a certain distance away from you. They look more solid when they're more away from you. But as I would try to walk toward them, they would back up, and then I back up, and then it moves forward.
It makes you wonder if they can like pick the entity they're going to turn into.
Yeah, it's really odd. It's still perplexing to this day. I mean, I got fascinated with the orbs, they just kind of take my words away. They're just fascinating to be able to look at and see, because they're not supposed to exist. And you're having this encounter that's lasting for hours.
And it represents every facet of the phenomenon too.
It does.
It all comes from that. Every ghost, the aliens, the feet.
It does. So, I've got a million questions concerning orbs, and I was hoping to be able to answer a few of them in this film. However, I think that we ended up creating more questions.
I was going to say a million more.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
Then we
solved one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever do any kind of lack of a better term, meditation before you go out, just to try to clear your mind?
Absolutely. I meditate before I go out, and every time that I meditate, I have found that I have much better success because my mind is cleared. It's like I try to broadcast my intention. And it's like, I'm not here to hurt you. We're just here to commune with you. And it seems to really help your experiences when you do that.
I that's what I was going to ask. Yeah, I did ask it. I was going to see how you prepared. You maybe
Mhm.
smudged yourself a little or whatever.
I do. I go out and I sit by. If we got a campfire, I sit by the campfire and zone out. But I meditate, and I try to talk to the beings that are around us. I firmly
Mhm.
believe that we're never alone. I think there's beings in either that we can't see or that is in dimensions that's just outside of our 3D world.
Mhm.
Uh, I do ask for for help and guidance and try to relay our attentions, and it seems to work for me.
Yeah, I'm on your same boat. Like I'm real big into manifestation
Hmm.
and things like that. And it seems to work. I'm getting kind of a good at it.
Hmm.
I did some CE5 things in my backyard, and I've gotten a few results. I've made shooting stars appear
Really?
just from thinking about it, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm not counting those as except for one, which is uh, but at one time I did a CE5, and I'm like, I'm just outside, building my little campfire, my solo stove,
Hmm.
just dickering about, as they say, piddling. And I'm doing like a CE5, just kind of lean back a little bit. And I'm like, hey guys, give me a sign if you're here. And I swear an alien, or I say alien, a UFO flashed its high beams at me.
Really?
It went, shooting stars do a certain thing. Shooting stars look a certain way. This was something white streaked across for a second, right in front of my face, like
Wow.
just like at this angle here, like an undeniable, not a shooting star. I saw it, and it's like it flashed. It's like a state trooper flashing its lights at you on the interstate, kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was not huge, but it was like you could tell it was like something just like, okay, we're revealing yourself to you right now.
Hmm. All right. Speaking of being flashed,
It's not another Christian story, is it? I don't want to.
no, it's not another Christian story. We were we were at the LBL, and we were having this interaction with this orb.
Mhm.
And what I mean by interaction, we would ask for it, say, "Hey, can you make yourself brighter?" Lo and behold, it would get brighter. And we asked it, did it know us? And one of them asked, "Hey, do you know Greg?" And just like what you were talking about, uh, it's it kind of felt like somebody takes a flashlight and put a high beam on you just for an instant,
Mhm.
and then it's gone. You can feel your pupils just, kind of get real small, sort of. I know that
Mhm.
sounds strange, but you can tell like when a flashlight's hit you in the
Yeah, it's
face.
just like,
Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh, and that happened to me. And then I was like, crap, did it recognize me? Because somebody else, hey, do you know who Greg is? And then woof, I'm like, hey, yeah, it flashed me.
knocks you down.
Yeah, it flashed me. So that I don't know. That's just uh, an interesting story, but that's what I mean by they will interact with you. You know, sometimes if they want to. And I think they understand what you're saying.
I think they do. And I think they get annoyed with us sometimes too, because I'll do it every night. I won't get action sometimes. And it's like, dude, stop. The other night I was like, dude, we're real. Like you do this shit all the time.
Hmm.
Like why? Like you're just messing around now. And
Hmm.
the other night I was outside trying to do it, and this is probably coincidental at best, but I was like, give me a sign, show me a shooting star or an orb right now. And these lightning bugs just kicked up at my privacy fence right then. I'm like,
Hmm.
whatever. I'm like, you gonna be that way about it? Lightning bugs, really? And so
Lightning.
because I was like, I asked for an orb, there it was. They what
Here's a
I'd
bug.
never. Yeah, I mean, it's probably coincidental, but it happened like right when I asked for that.
Hmm.
Like here,
Well,
here, and here.
I don't think anything is ever coincidental.
No,
there's always a plan.
you want to know something funny? I always know when I'm going to have a good day at work is if I have to clean up dog piss before I go to work, because it's I'm like me paying my dues to the universe for the day.
Hmm.
My wife's old dog. I know it sounds weird, but like I
Mm.
think like the currency of the universe is us kind of suffering, like paying our
Hmm.
dues in temporal punishment and karma and the whatnot. and I always know like this is gonna be a weird day.
Yeah, well, if mine pisses in the house, I just get I'm like,
It's not every time, but like if I'm feeling, let me take a step back because it's not like something that happens all the time. Like I don't think of that every time it happens if there's an accident, but
Mhm.
like if I'm particularly worried about something at work, and like even if I'm dreaming about it, that kind of worry.
Mhm.
If something like that happens the next day, I got to clean something up. Not even necessarily that. I'll just be like, okay, well, that's just, and it's almost 100%. Like it always works out pretty well. I get stopped by a train. I always get some kind of random inconvenience that's not related to it, and it's always cool when I get there.
Well, at least you know when you're going to have a good day or not.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
This morning was one of them. I was
Yeah.
like, come on, what are we doing? I was actually on time.
But we are actually we're already planning on film number 3 now.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what that's going to be. Like, where's how much
Well,
can you
I'm
reveal?
going to keep part of it secret, but we actually start to film in October for film number 3. It's going to be in 2 segments. I'm going to maybe go out to Texas or Oklahoma,
Ooh.
and part of it's going to be in Georgia. So I'm just going to kind of leave it at that. But the Land Between the Lakes, we're shooting for it to come out in December. I don't know what platform it's going to be on, but I do know that I want to have a screening at a theater, maybe in Huntsville. So I'm going to invite all of the cast members, the people that played in it, to come down and see it. And I may have to sell tickets to the film so that I can kind of recover some of the money, because it's very expensive to rent a theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe selling tickets, and it's my hope that I can do it to show both films, the Downey Booger and the Land Between the Lakes.
Well, look up Shenanigans. They have a movie theater in there in Huntsville.
Shenanigans?
I think it's what it's called. There's a local horror movie club. I have it right here. A local horror movie club does their weekly meetup to review a random horror movie at Shenanigans Comedy Theater. It's not like it's on like a back street, but it's like I got a theater in there.
Interesting.
I don't know. I mean, I've never been there, and I'm talking out of my ass right now, but I know the horror movie club watches horror movies there, so
there you
used
go.
to watch Greg Ogles movies.
There you go. I don't know. Some people might think they're horror movies, like they're horribly done or something.
I don't know. I've seen The Room. I think you got him beat.
But yeah, the LBL should be out in December. So it's what we're shooting for. Don't know what platform yet, but we're extremely hopeful. And like I said, I've already seen the first few minutes of the film, and I'm blown away how it starts. If you think the trailer's good, the first few minutes just will blow you away. It'll blow you away.
Yeah, I've got a link to the trailer in the description of this video. Anybody wants to watch it, and
fantastic.
And a link to Tubi for the booger, and a link to all the ways to watch the booger, because there's 2 or 3 different little ways.
Yeah.
It's all in there.
Yeah, you can see the booger for free. You have to watch the ads, but you can see the booger for free.
Sounds like a random adult content. You get to watch the ads, but the booger's free. Yeah, let us know about that theater, because I'll definitely promote it. And
when it comes closer to time, I will make an announcement about it. I actually think that I'm going to do monthly updates. I'll probably do like go on YouTube Live or something like that and have monthly updates. Tell us, just inform people where we're at on the film, what's going on with it, and if we've had any troubles, or you can expect troubles. Like we've already had some troubles that when I was at the LBL for the second time, every bit of that footage was corrupted. Every bit of it.
See, that just makes me sad, and I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. So
even though I was there for it, kind of.
Yeah, you were there. And we had some good footage. some good things that were filmed. I can't say that it was as good as the first time I was there, but it was good. I mean, it was as good as any other film ever had. And I was excited to be able to put it in, but I was very sad when I turned out and I started looking at it and it's corrupted. I'm like, oh my God, really?
I was very sad. I would
Yeah, I was very
jumped
sad.
off of a cliff. Very sad.
Yeah, I was very sad and upset. So
Well, Greg, thanks for being on. It's been a great time. We'll went over. I mean, no, there's no time limit on this podcast, but an hour and a half is a damn fine podcast. And we had the all-stars in the chat, Flat Rock and Kristen and everybody, Mike X.
Well,
So
thanks
just,
everybody for watching and putting up with my ramblings.
Yeah, check out always to watch Greg's stuff in the description. And everybody on the audio apps, it's in the description of the audio apps too, but you'll have to open up another browser. I mean, but
And
yeah,
I would appreciate it if you did.
and Wills, it's the Downey Booger is a good documentary. It's better than half the other crap out there, and there's some crap out there too.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
It's actually good content. It's right up there. I watch Joe Rogan Questions Everything, his little 6-part series, and I watch Downey Booger and then like some thing about Montauk that I find interesting.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate that.
Oh, have a good night, Greg, and have fun down there watching
Peace,
traffic
brother.
accidents. And we're gonna hit that theme music.
I never didn't believe in Bigfoot. I never believed in it. I didn't believe in it. I never gave it any thought.
They kept wood knocking back and forth to each other, and it was in a pattern.
Barn owls don't typically throw rocks.
I come across these tracks.
Sasquatch is still not on my mind.